All right, let's see. Let's make sure the microphone's working. Number one, as always, video working. So you got a couple people watching. Can you guys let me know so I'm 100% on board, working, functioning? All right. Okay, Milan, excellent. I see you asked a question. Maybe before I start answering you, let me make sure that you guys actually do hear me. That's a good. And let me see. Let me bring my microphone down lower to make sure we're having good microphone access. Although, like I need it, I'm loud and obnoxious. Okay, can someone just let me know? A, yes, I see your videos. B, I can hear you just fine. Can someone just give me a thumbs up in the chat just so I'm aware of that before I continue moving on? It should be fine. It's showing me spiking. Let me see. My audio seems a little high to me. Here we go. Works. Okay, thank you. I'm gonna drop my microphone a little bit. There we go, and make sure because it is spiking. Okay. So Milan, you asked a question. First of all, thank you. I don't think I'm that good to it. So I've turned down the volume of the mic, so it shouldn't be so bad anymore. So I shouldn't be spiking now into the red. It should be still good though. And let me know though if it's too quiet. Okay, to your question, I don't think I'm that great of an artist. I'm okay. I wish I could do more artwork, but in the development of ZBrush, it really takes so much of my time, especially now more than ever. I don't have the luxury to do as much artwork as I wish I could. And let's be honest, sometimes I'm just lazy. Alright, but to answer your question, unfortunately, I think this is a little bit of what everyone says. It's just the do. You gotta just put efforts in, right? You gotta go for it. You gotta work with it. I think, though, however, the biggest items that we have to think about here is what I've noticed even in my journey as trying to be an artist is there was times in my life where I'm like I would try to be perfect, meticulous, try to get something like a really big stuff projects done, and it actually worked against me, against my mental state and thought process. So I've learned that sometimes there's a couple things I would say that makes you, I think, a better artist. And it makes you make these plateaus and these jumps, honestly. Okay, so let me know if it's still scratchy, because I did turn it down, so hopefully it's not scratchy anymore, my audio. Okay, so number one, you have to be willing to understand when you are making your artwork or your sculpting and things like this, it's not going to look amazing right out the gate, always. It's a process. You're going to have times where, in essence, live in that ugly state and be okay with living in an ugly state and trusting in your abilities that if you go through a process that is a process for sculpting, it will end up looking awesome and getting to the goal that you want it to look like. Okay? So that is something that's important. Okay, so you're saying the mic is still crazy. All right, I'm going to turn it even more down. Okay, so now as far as OBS says, I'm all in the green. So I'm not in the yellow or the red. So saturated. Okay, so try now. Let me see. I gotta figure out. I'm figuring out the holy Darth Vader. Okay, okay. Well, I am using my microphone. I am using the Yeti. It should be good. Okay, so the audio is garbage though. Okay, well that's a different problem. Let's try this. I'm gonna do what you're saying. I'm gonna unplug and plug back in. Let's see what happens. I don't have a computer on it. I have a fan going because it's hot in my office. Alright, so let's try this. I unplugged and plugged back in. I've turned down the audio settings right in OBS itself. And from when I'm looking at OBS, I can't even get into the yellow or the red. I can only stay in the green. I don't have a compressor on. I just had a fan running, so I just turned the fan off. It's just, I'm going to probably start sweating in an hour. So maybe that'll help. So let's see if that helps in your audio. Okay, let me know. Okay, so back to your question. I think, you got to do that. You got to be willing to live in, like, even right now, this thing, I'm not happy with everything on it right now. I'm into what I consider stage 3, where now I'm starting to make the details. And I'm okay with understanding, like, this is still not what I want, how I want it, but that's okay. I'm going to keep moving forward. And then number 2, I find to make yourself a better artist, I would focus on little projects and little items. So what I mean by that, you can still work on some big project that you want to get to the end result is, but I think best practice is to go for small things. Like, hey, just one day, just sculpt ears. Another day, just sculpt human skull. Another day, sculpt some hands. Like, do stuff like that, okay? Okay, it's still saying it's a touch too high. This is interesting. Okay, let me turn even the volume down of the microphone itself. I don't know why, because I'm using the same microphone in meetings I'm in every single day. So I don't know why OBS is doing this right now. So let me see, because I'm definitely not spiking. I've turned down the volume of the microphone quite a bit. So let's see. Okay, I need to make sure the audio, I'd have to go listen now, and I'd have to turn me off to see what you guys are hearing. So I'm trusting in you guys. So here, I've turned it down more. Okay, so I would say those 2 things, being an artist, I think are really important. Live in that oh no zone where the sculpt doesn't look amazing, and try just doing little things, because also I think mentally you get wins, and then also at the same time you're honing your craft and learning something that when you go do a big project, you're good to go. Here, I'm going to also move the microphone further away from me and see if that even makes things better too. Okay, so I've tried everything in the microphone now. I've tried moving it further away from me. I've turned down the volume. I've turned the OBS, so you guys let me know. Is it listenable? Like, or do you guys just want to, dude, your audio is so bad I can't even listen to you? That's what I really need to know. Otherwise, I'd have to go jump over into the stream and hear what it's saying to do that. But to do that, we would get echoing because I can't turn on the volume. Okay. Okay. It shouldn't be scratchy. I don't know. I'm using a Yeti. The only thing I can try doing is switching to a different microphone. Okay. I don't understand why it's distorted. This is really weird why it's distorted. You know what I'm going to do? Let's do this. I'm going to take the microphone out completely of OBS and re-put it back in. So give me a second. I'll have no audio for a minute. Let me just try this. Let me remove it and put it back in. Okay, all right. So now I've re-put the microphone back in to see if that's what I'm getting. Problem is it's not seeing it as a Yeti. Okay, this is definitely my Yeti. It's just not it's better now. Okay, perfect. All right, well that's what's important because we don't want to listen to broken up audio, okay? All right, so okay, it's so much better now. All right, I moved the mic away. We re-added it, so I don't know what's going on. So much better now is what I like to hear. Okay, good. All right, so again, I'm going to continue working on my little X-Wing here. I'm a big fan of this stuff, right? Hard surface for me. And again, this is a project that's a never-ending project. I have the TIE Fighter done. I'm doing X-Wing because I'm going to 3D print them out and put them above my office here and have like a battle happening. So I'm doing Luke Skywalker's X-Wing. And then I'm going to turn on the fan and see what that goes. I don't know how else to make my volume lower because I've capped it in OBS. Here, I'll turn it down even more. Here, turn down my gain. Okay, there. On the Yeti, so let's see. Okay, let's go there. I just need to speak softer. Yeah, good luck. I'm just loud, so that might just be the problem. I'm loud. I've learned to project my voice, is what I've done. Okay, so anyways, I'm trying to do this scene, so I'm going to continue working on this. I'm going to put my fan back on, guys, because I'm already hot, so I don't know if it's going to be... Let me know if the fan's too crazy noisy, and then I'll turn it off, but I need a little bit of that breeze coming through on me. So I'm going to, again, I am using, I got a physical reference that I am using to make this. So I'm going to start making an insert mesh brush that's specifically for this brush, like I did with the TIE Fighter. But I want to start finishing off the wings a little bit here. There's some more items that I want to do with the wing. So this portion in here. Okay, so for me, I'm going to do a duplicate of this. Right, so what we're looking at is this, and I'm going to make this a new polygroup. So I'm going to do a flat island on this. All right, so I just want, okay, that's probably good enough for me. I don't need this. That's good. And then I'm going to delete the hidden of that. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that. I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't need... Oops, I don't need this for sure. I don't need this, so we'll delete hidden this. Okay, and now what I want to make, looking at this, it has a little bit of some design in here of some pieces that kind of want to follow the same path that we did in here. So I'm just going to go with a little something they put in here. Alright, I'm just going to add some different elements in here. I'm going to make some other pieces of geometry in essence. Okay, I'm going to have some fun with this. I'm going to go my world. Insert. Let's do say something like this. I don't need any of these topology as well. Delete hidden. Okay. Let's see, do I want it to go that high? Let's see how high. Let's undo this. I definitely want it higher. So I did not put that in the position I want. So I'm going to slide a complete edge loop. I want this to sit a lot higher. Something like, in fact, I'm just going to use, actually what I want. Let's just even forget this. Let's just delete this. Okay, and I don't need this, don't need this, don't need this, don't need that, don't need these. I'm going to keep that, don't need that. I don't need all this topology. For what I'm planning to do, I don't think it's necessary. Okay. I don't think this and this is necessary, so let's streamline this even more. Things like this. Okay. So, I want this. I'm going to use this. We'll turn off so I can see in conjunction of what I'm doing in here. Alright. And I'm going to add now some edge looping. So I'm going to go here. That looks good. And then this direction. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's go to the slice brush. Slice curve. Let's turn on B radius. And let's do a slice through here. Okay, that's way too big. I don't want it that big. I'm going to go there, that route. And this route. Okay, and what I care about now are this face and these faces. Okay, I care about those faces the most right now. I just want to do something here that's a little different. Okay, and now let's do another one. Let's do another slice. Yeah, I'm going to do another slice. I kind of like this idea. So I'm going to do another. And by the way, as we go, okay, is by the way as we go here, right? Feel free to ask any questions that you might have. So I'm going to now make it do this, and then now I'm going to add another insert an edge here now, and I want this one to live more there. Okay, and then now I'm going to copy. Let's make a single polygon, and then let's paint that. Whoops, and then I'm going to make this I want to make sure this gets moved down. Okay, let's see, do I have symmetry on? Nope, not on. Okay, well, we'll slide. I don't need this. Let's get rid of this one. Let's do a delete hidden. We don't need these polygroups anymore. I don't need this polygroup anymore. I don't need that polygroup anymore. Let's delete hidden that. And then let's take this. Okay, I don't know why my mask is doing what it's doing. Interesting. Hold on, let's try. Turn off array real quick. Huh. Interesting, why that one? Okay. Alright. So let's then slide B-radius. I kind of feel like I need to do a restart. Okay, we'll do that. Maybe I'll go, we'll keep it straight. Alright. And then I want this to kind of now, we want to use dynamic. So I'm going to throw dynamic on now. I don't want it to smooth right now, but I definitely want some thickness to it. And again, my ultimate goal is 3D printing is my ultimate goal. So I am going to exaggerate some things here quite a bit, just so I can get making sure it comes out pretty good in the print. Because again, I'm going to be doing ranges of this size probably. I'm doing tiny ones, big ones, whatever it might be. I'm probably going to be doing different sized versions of this. Okay, and now I'm going to apply. Oh, okay, wonderful. Wonderful. Hold on, I lost everything. There is no way to see what keys I'm pressing. I have not downloaded a plugin that will give us that ability. I have to add that to my system, and I have not added that into my system. So, wish I could, but I don't have anything that can do that, unfortunately. Okay, let me bring this back over. And I'm going to have to redo what I started. It crashed on me. Hold on, let me... There we go. Size it up. So we get to see it again. Yeah, I'll have to find a plugin that allows you to see my keys. I don't have one right now. So that's the only problem. Okay, so all I care about is this. So I'm going to polygroup this off, flat island. Again, I just care about that one. Right, and then we'll delete everything else. Once again, modify, delete hidden. Okay, and I don't need any of this topology. Let's turn this back on. Yep. Delete hidden. Okay. And we'll just use the delete this time. Make things even faster for me. We'll delete this, delete this. I don't want all of these edge loops. Once again, no thank you. We'll keep this one and this one. Don't want that one, don't want that one. Okay, and we don't need this, we don't need this, we don't need, oops. We don't need this one, and we don't need that one. So let's keep it more like that. I don't like what's happening here. Okay, so now straighten that out a little bit. And also don't like this one. So now at least the masking's working correct. Look like it's like you needed to do an update. Okay. All right, and then let's go back to slicing. I'm going to do a slice curve. Let's turn this on. I want one of them to go, I'm going to go here. And let's turn on that B radius again, which to turn that B radius on, I'm doing Control and Space Bar to make that UI element pop up. But it actually lives over here in the brush palette. Okay. So I am doing the clip brush modifier, so you can see that lives right there. So if you want to know where it is, that's where it actually lives. And then I'm going to go with something like that. That's good for me. And then something like that. Okay. All right, and so now I care about this, 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 and this right now. So we'll make all that the same polygroup. Okay, we need to insert now another edge loop. Okay, so I think this is probably my problem. Something like that. And we are going to make that live more up in that world. Let's see. Okay. Now I only care about that. Let's delete hidden. I'm going to delete this face. So now we have something like this. It'll look like this on the actual X-Wing. Alright. And I'm going to play with this just a little bit. I'm going to bring this down just a smidge. Yeah, I'm going to bring it down a smidge. I'm going to do something like that. Okay. And then let's go ahead now. I'm going to do a save next. Just in case, because there could be something with this topology I'm playing with. Let's find out. Dynamically, no smoothing. Let's add some thickness to this. I don't know if I want to go that thick. I want to go, yeah, we'll do that later. Okay. No post smoothing, no smoothing, no smoothing, and apply. Okay, there's something wrong with that topology, so I'm just going to remake new topology. Something's up with that topology. It's making things crash. So I got to fix that and see what's wrong with it. It's probably some flipped normals or something. I got to look at it. I will just make some new topology. Not a big deal. In fact, we'll just also go, we can go another way of doing this too. There's multiple ways we can go about this. Oops, quick saves. Nope, I'm in the wrong version. Well, let me get the right version launched. I'm not in the right version. What a great start. We had audio problems. Now I'm getting just delightful crashes. Let me kill this one. Alright. Okay, and let me bring this one over. Okay. Alright, let's do it again. Oh, and let me import my one texture again that I've been using. Okay, okay. It's Friday is right. I want this. What am I calling this? Let's bring the render in. Okay, we're going to add that in the spotlight. We're going to change our opacity. Let's switch the color. Okay, switch back the color. Now we can size it down, way, way down, and move it up here. And then turn off our samples so that I'm not using the projection system. Let's go back to this. Whoops, cancel. All right. and we are going to use something else different. Okay, but we will still duplicate, but this time we will, let's use this and let's replace it with a cube. And we'll go this route instead. We'll just go this way. Let me crease it all for now so that we're looking at a cube. Let me size it way down. All right, and then now I'm going to also size down this way. Let's go about that thick. All right, and then let's start with, it needs to live here, right out here. Okay, I'm gonna mask this off. We're gonna have this go up to here. Then I want this to come to, let's have it go to there. And then I want all of this to come about there. Okay, that looks good. Now I will insert an edge loop. So let's use that Z modeler again. Let's insert an edge loop there, but let's actually also let's crease it as we are inserting it. Oops. So it's got a crease. I'm gonna live about there. All right. Then I'm going to Q mesh off this direction. Let's Q mesh a face off this way to there. And then let's just, for the sake of this, we're going to Q mesh off this way as well. We'll make this be different poly groups. We'll crease all. This I want to now have an angle to it. Something more like that. This is definitely going to have an angle to it as well. I want something more like that. But you know what? Let's get smart about this. Actually, let's take all of this. Let's come all the way out to, I think I'm going to go there. Then let's get the angle that I actually want. Something along maybe that line. Okay, and then I want this to sit higher, a little bit higher. And we'll make this sit even higher now. That will go there. Alright, and now let's insert an edge loop here. Let's go right there. Let's insert an edge loop. Whoops. Insert another edge loop there. Okay, and then we'll Q mesh this out so it automatically crease all. Boom. Yes. Boom. There. Now we've got some other element in here just to start breaking some stuff up a little bit. I'm going to even, let's see, let's add something like this. Crease all. And I'm going to make all of this. Let's center that. And I'm going to make this be a lot smaller. Something like that instead. I don't want it to be so strong, prominent. Okay. That looks pretty good. And then I am going to use, normally I don't, but dynamic subdiv Y. I'm actually not going to do any smoothness on this. I'm going to use QGrid instead. And then let's put a bevel automatically on all of this. Something like that. Alright, and I think it is, for me, too thick. I want to live more in that world. It's coming off too much in my opinion. So something like that is working for me. Okay. Let's see, let me look at the chat. You guys are still with me? Yeah, okay, still got people with me. It is Friday, Sean, that's right. Okay, so let's see, I've got a little element like that. And I think to add some more items in here, let's do another cube. I just want, again, I'm probably, again, this is going to be my problem, is I'm not 100% accurate to the X-Wing, but it looks like an X-Wing. I'm going to rip this off with the control key, make that be a cube. All right, and then let's move this over to give us something like this. And let's mask off the bottom vertexes so we can push this up, so maybe it does something like that. And now I want this to kind of live more in that world. You know what? I kind of feel like I want to do this instead. Whoops. I kind of want to do that. And I kind of want to see do I want to go this high with it? And now, what does this look like? Is that weird? This negative space I'm making, is that weird? I'm going to go back to the cube. I don't think that's working for me. I'm going to put it back in where I kind of had the position I had it in. I'm going to do that. Okay. I'm fine with that. Okay, and then this is just some other little plates coming off the back, giving it just a little bit more volume as well, a little bit more interesting design element. This one has something like that on the back of it that I'm using as my reference. So, I'm exaggerating this stuff for the purpose of 3D printing a little bit more. Okay, I think I want to add, so we'll save this off, save our next, X-Wing, yes, replace it. Okay, let that finish. Okay, I think this has gotten to be too small, so I'm going to go a little bit bigger. Something like that, but then now that I've done that, I think all of this needs to come down now a little bit more. I'm going to make it be more in that world. And let me take all of this, and I'm going to move it more and aligned like that. That's a little bit better for me. And now let me take this, and this, and I am going to Q mesh this out, change the poly grouping. I want to have like a little bit of a ridge change there. Something like that. Okay. And then now let's take, here, we'll save next again. What's up, Steamworks TC? I see Shauna Storm. I like the names. Nice. Okay, so I'm now going to take this. All right, and I'm going to think about this now. I'm trying to debate if I want to do this sculpturally or live Boolean-y. Is, you know what, I'm going to do, this way. Okay, okay, so all I care about are these faces. Okay, I'm going to delete hidden. We're going to turn dynamic off. We don't need that. Modify, delete hidden. Let me look at display properties in here. Okay, so the normals. Okay, so I only want these ones again. Delete hidden. And I don't want any of these. I don't really care about any of those. So let's get rid of those. Let's delete hidden. All right. And then I am going to now use again the slice. Okay, and then do this, and I'm going to make a slice there. I'm going to make a slice, I think there would be, that would work for me. Then I want to make there. Let's make another one here. Okay. Let's make another one. It could be tough to see, but we'll make that one. And then I do want another one out here, so let's make this go further out. Perfect. And then I'm going to add another one here. In fact, maybe we'll do I want to do this close? We'll decide. I don't like that. Let's go with this. Okay. All right, so now we have this polygrouped off where I want it polygrouped. So let's switch to the extrude profile. I'm going to do something. Let's go really tiny here. Let's go ahead and divide this up. Let's give it some more topology to play with. Just a little bit more like that. Okay. Then I'm going to say, well, technically, you know what, let's get rid of modeler. We don't even need these. We don't even need those. Okay. That way we're just more consistent. Okay, so let's go ahead and divide without some smoothness. That's good enough. Maybe. I think that's good enough. Okay, brush extruder. We're going to go to really small draw size, maybe 2. Let's start with 3. I think I'm going to use, let's use this one. Let's go to stroke. Let's go to the functions. Let's tell it to only do the polygroups. And so now I only get curves where I made these polygroups, right? So I got this, 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 and this. And now if I tap, I'm dropping like this is what I'm dropping, right? Let's make sure I don't have saturation. Okay, so I'm dropping this. Okay, these elements in here. I think this is going to be a good size because I got to remember I got to 3D print this. Okay, so I'm going to split this off now. And then so that I have this, we don't need this now. And then this, it becomes a subtractive. And now we're going to dig into the surface here. Okay, this, let's turn live boolean on. And now we're digging in, right? And creating this. Just creating. Okay, and the advantage of this is I can continue to edit if I want to. So what I mean by that, I'm going to make these go a little bit higher. So I'm just going to make this do like that. And here, I'll turn this on so you guys can see visually what I'm going to do. See that right there? I need it to also here. I want to see, do I want this to go all the way through like that, right? So I want this to have a nice cut through there. Okay, that's good, that's good. Definitely don't want this one right here living there. So I'm going to unmask that one. And let's put that one more this direction. Or maybe do I want to go on this side? No, I think I'll go on this side. I'll go right before it. And then just giving it some more elements here happening on this. Okay, I think I'm good there with that. Let's take a look at kind of what they did. You guys still with me? I'm still streaming, eh? It's quiet. It's crickets out there. You guys are so quiet. Shh. Don't be so loud. You know what? I'm going to take this. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to do this one now. I want it to live right there instead. And I think I want to get rid of this one. Let's see what that looks like. It's tough to say. You know what? I'm going to move on. When I start putting everything together, I'll see do I like that or not. But I'm going to move on. I got stuff where I wanted, I think. I think we're good. I think we are good. Okay. You know what? I'm going to see if I make one more. Copy this. Let's make one more. So from this view, maybe we do like a framing thing like this. Okay, yeah, I like that. And now that I'm looking at this, let's take this. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this. Whoops, other way around. I'm going to duplicate this. And from here, I want that to sit right about there. And then I'm going to have it go up more. A little bit. Okay. Then, right, I am going to brush the modeler. Let's insert an edge right here. Let's take this, not Q measure, let's give it a little bit of an angle. Just some kind of other element there that's underlining there, meeting up with that. Okay. There we go. Right, I'm moving on. This is the kind of thing I started with. Like, again, move on. Don't stay so, right, to go through there. Okay, any best solution for a subtool corrupted error? No. It's already, ZBrush already has stuff built in. If it can save the subtool, it'll save the subtool, fix it, and give it to you. But if you're getting a subtool error and then ZBrush is deleting it, there's nothing you can do about it. There's something corrupt that happened. So the only thing you could do is go back maybe to an older file, right, and then get that subtool in an older file and replace it. Unfortunately, there's nothing you can do. It's corrupted. ZBrush has found something has happened to that file, and that subtool itself in particular, something's happened to it. So instead of just crashing ZBrush and the whole thing of loading the project, it's saying, hey, you've got a corrupted subtool and I can't do anything about this, right? So unfortunately, there's nothing I can give you. If you want to try and email it to me, if you want, I can see maybe if we can somehow salvage it. I doubt it though, but it could be worth a try, right? We could, I'm not saying no, like we could try it and see what we get from it, okay? Be worth it. I just don't like how thick that was, so I'm just changing it a little bit. Just changing up a little bit, okay. Golden, golden. Okay, let me look at the front here. I'm definitely going to need something more here. I can see why. Alright. We'll see if we can... We'll solve that problem later, I think. I'm just going to leave it as it is right now. I can see what my issue is, but we're going to move on. Okay, so I now need to start making a tool that I like to have when I'm making an insert mesh brush for a project, and that way also I can always have this brush, always use this brush, and always do these things. So I'm going to start making some meshes here, okay? I'm going to, let's insert, just because for the naming convention, as we all know, for those that don't know, I'm going to rename this actually. Oh yeah, okay. Alright, let's start making some stuff here. Make this a poly mesh. We're going to do a ZModeler. Let's delete these. I don't need any of these. This is definitely good enough though. I want this to be a lot longer, taller. Right, we'll go something like this. Something around there. Let me look at this. See what I'm trying to make. Okay. So I want, let's go brush ZModeler. Let's go something rather larger here. Let's do that B radius again. Let's do a slice. Okay, now I want to go a lot bigger. Let's do a slice there. Do a slice there. Make those be identical. We want this to be a little bit longer there. And then let's do a Q mesh. Let's do an insert first here. Let's Let's do an insert here. We're going to make that one be a little bit smaller. All right, so now let's repolygroup this. Okay, and I am going to, let's go polygroup, polyloop. Let's make this have a new polygroup there. Let's apply the same one there. And this one as well. New polygroup there. Now we can go Q mesh, polygroup all. I'm going to push this in. So it creates something like this. My glasses are. Let's not go too crazy. Let's live more in that world. Okay. All right. I'm going to make these just a bit thicker. I want to go a little bit thicker. Again, for the sake for me for 3D printing, I want these to have a little bit more volume to them. And let's do the same thing here. Let's let this end portion have some more volume to it. Just enough. Let's go like that. So, okay. Okay, that works for me. I'm okay with that. Let's insert an edge loop here. Okay, but I'm going to turn off, whoops, the creasing for now. So we'll go right about, let's go right about there. I'm going to take this, Control W, make that a new polygroup, shrink it, make that a new polygroup. Let's do the same thing down here, but let's make this one be very different. I don't want it to be the exactly same kind of concept here. Control W, shrink this down, Control W. We're going to definitely need to add an edge loop here. We're going to need an edge loop in here. And now Q mesh polygroup all. Let's give it that look. And then let's give it that look. Well, let's go more. Let's go there. Okay, there, that looks good to me. Okay, in here, let's throw some beveling in here. Let's do this. Now I can tap, 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 tap. Get the same bevel, bevel, bevel. Right? Got all that same bevel. Okay, looks good to me. Let's go ahead and now let's start doing our creasing. I'm going to crease by the old PG'er, which is polygroup, not Paul Gaboury. Now we've got that. And I said dynamically, I'm usually doing this and this. So let's see how this looks. All right, at this level. Okay, it's not that bad. I'm going though to add, let's turn B radius off. Well, mask everything off because I don't want the polygroups to change. And I'm just going to do slices that are close to the ends here of these, so they're a little bit more consistent in here, just so I have a little bit more topology in there. All right, now this for me is an insert now, right? I'm starting to build some insert mesh brushes for this, right? So let's rename this. Okay, well, I've been doing it on the wrong one. We'll rename this. We don't need this. Duplicate, whoops, delete it. Okay, delete it. Okay, and rename variable 01. I'm probably not going to make more than, I'm not going to make more than 99. Okay, so there. All right. And then now I can turn this into an insert mesh brush, right? So this is something now I want to draw out. So again, now this tool, I'm going to save this now, this tool, as my X-Wing IMM. Okay, so now I have a tool of that, and as I keep building stuff for my X-Wing, I'm going to keep using it. So right now I've only got really this one item. I'm only just going to create this one right now. I just want the one. I'm going to go back to my wings, and in this wing portion right here, okay, this is what I want. I am going to draw this out. I want it to be straight up and down. I'm going to put the bigger portion inward on the wing, right? Okay, so I'm going to say, let's take this. I'm going to say 90 degree. Oops. My hand is in the way. 90 degrees. I want it to live in more, like that. And for the sake of printing, I want more overlapping to happen with the wing, so I'm going to go more that route. Let me look from this view. I'm going to go even more. I really want to make sure. And then now let me turn this on and see what this is looking like. Okay. Yeah, maybe hold on, maybe I got a little too aggressive with this. I think maybe I can go a little bit smaller. I think maybe I've got a little bit in the aggressiveness with this. I'm going to have it live more this direction. Okay. There. Okay, that works for me. Okay, so now I've got that, and that. Okay, so I'm going to start now building the back end here of this, okay? And now this is where this insert mesh brushing comes. Starting building things here, starting building things on the top of it as well. So now I'm going to start looking at this a little bit closer. I think the body, this is why you kind of want to look at this. I think this body line, in essence, this edge right here, these edges, I think they need, let me make sure that is masked off, okay? They need to sit lower. I think the body is doing a little something more extreme overall. So I'm going to use this to help me with that extreme. Let me hide the masking, because then I can visually, which is Control H, I can visually kind of see this a little bit more. So I want this to be sitting there, right by that wing. That's good. And I say, okay, I see a little triangle that I'm going to need to maybe make here. And I think we're going to still play with the height of this. So I'm going to start putting some things in here that'll help us. Okay, so this is what I find is so important for a hard surface, right? Is it's not the normal thing that we all are doing when we're doing organic stuff. Some of this is eyeballing. Some of this is just relationships also happening, okay? And we got to get those relationships right, okay? So this triangulation here part I don't have quite right, I don't think, for me. I want to play with that a little bit. I'm going to exaggerate that a little bit more, I think. Okay, so that looks good. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this vertex point, right? So we're going to Z modeler. I'm going to go masking this point and masking this point. I'm going to inverse this. Okay, I'm going to center this now. We're in symmetry mode. I'm going to make sure I'm locally doing this, so when I do one side, right, I want the other side, but I'm going to turn dynamic off. And I want something more, a little bit more like this, and then now this comes more out, I think, like that. And now what we get is that. I need this right here, is what I need. So let's exaggerate this, I think, even more. Right? Oh, let me clear my mask. So we can make sure we can do that. And now it's exaggerated even more. We got that creased. Okay. Just this. This is what I don't like about triangles. So let's see if I insert. We will fix this. Okay, I'll fix this tighten that up a little bit more. I want that. Triangle's a lot bigger though on their version. So I'm going to slide. I'm going to delete this for now because I'm going to slide this point down. I'll make that be a little bit bigger. I'm going to slide that down to something more like that. And then now I think it still needs an edge loop down here. Tighten this up a little bit more. There we go. That's better. Okay. And then now I have this. That looks good. I got a little bit of there. Let me see if I want to go more aggressive. This is why I like having a item to look at in your hand. You can see stuff a little bit better by having this in our hands, right? So I'm going to slide this point down. Let's get rid of this for now. And I'm going to slide this point over a little bit more. And now this one just a smidgen more down. Oops. I want this one down a little bit more. Maybe a little too aggressive. Okay. And then now I can insert this back. Put that right in the middle there. Okay. Alright, good. Alright, so now, looking at this, I gotta see, am I even, how off am I and stuff? So I'm gonna start placing things that are, so I'm looking at the back, right, of this. There's my camera, right? So these little greeble pieces, I'm gonna start making just some portions of this that makes it look like, hey, do I have the height of this right, the width of this right, what do I need to adjust? Before I start about worrying about really crazy details on this, I need to establish that first, okay? So I'm just going to start plopping in some shapes here to make this happen for me. I want my glasses up. I gotta adjust my glasses. Alright, so let's first put a cube that is going to represent the main portion of this. So that's what I look at too. What is the biggest items that I want to look at here? So I call this is like a blocking out phase for me. I can already see, I think, these edges here, like these edges here, and these edges here, I think they already, I can see, need to come up a bit. I think it's too extreme what I've put. And then let's center them and have it come in a little bit more. I think it's more in that realm of the world, personally. Okay, and then let's continue that down the line. No, let's not. Let's keep what I got. Okay. Alright, so now let's see how far off I am. So this is the back portion of the wing. Let's insert a cube. Alright, and I am going to actually, let's rip this cube out. Let's put it here. Let's make this a folder and call this back greeble. So I have this. Okay, I'm going to rename this main back portion. Alright, and let's now, before I get deeper down the rabbit hole here, let's move this out. Right. Let's go ahead and turn it into this cube. I'm going to make that bigger, and then I'm going to move right here. Okay. So this sits all the way up. Okay, so I will come. I see a question came in, so I'll get to that question for sure. All right. Okay, so we want this to take up most of. All right, so we want this to be all the way up into here. All right. Well, I might have lucked out with just even this default of this is pretty close. And then let's mask off this top, and it needs to come all the way down, I would say, to there. Right? Okay. I'd say it comes down to there. This will give me a general idea space-wise. Alrighty then. And then there are going to be a edge, and then it goes flat. Okay, so we're going to need to insert. We'll go with crease, an edge down here. Say probably right around there. Okay, and then so now this needs to ramp in. Something like this. We'll crease all of this for now. I will crease all of this just so I have it all creased. Okay, it does something like that. Let's now take this and let's duplicate this. Let's turn it into a cylinder. Alright, and then we need this to be how big? It's relatively big. I'd say that's actually not a bad size. It's going to sit a little bit higher. So it probably sits more in that part of the world. And it sits further back. Okay. Let's go ahead and crease the top of this, and let's start looking at the stuff more like that. Okay, I think we might have lucked out. Okay, hold on. I see some questions coming through. So let me quick save this. Let me save this. Okay. Okay, so the first question, entertainment jerk 6483. Can you show how would you bevel edges with curved profiles? Because when I bevel it, it gives me flat bevel chamfering. Okay, so are you talking sculpturally? Are you talking low polygon? Right, so that's my question, is what one are you looking for? Because there's different workflows that you could do for that, for sure, that you'd want to take a look at and see. Number one. Okay, and while you're answering that, let's see what your Blasco 3D. Why the heck can't you manage to set local symmetry? Requirement is having a symmetrical topology on the model. Am I wrong? No, you don't need to have local symmetry. No, you don't. I mean, you don't have to have the mesh on the. Okay, so hold on. Just to be clear, what I expect the command to do is give me the chance to sculpt in symmetry while the model is away from the center of the world, which it can. The requirement is having a symmetrical topology on the model. Am I wrong? Okay, so no and yes. No, it's not necessarily. Like, obviously a Dynamesh mesh would work even though that the geometry is not symmetrical. The sculpting would be symmetrical. Okay, so let me do the symmetry one first. Okay, let's just say, let's take this one out. Okay, let me switch the clay buildup here. We'll turn on symmetry. Let's go. Oh, Dyna. Oh, Dyna. Let's Dynamesh it. Okay, so I have symmetry right out the gate. It's going to be symmetrical. Because this model is sitting in the center of the world, right? So this is doesn't matter. And when I read Dynamesh, right, this is technically not, this is not symmetrical topology. Dynamesh's goal is not trying to make the geometry symmetrical, right? So technically the topology is different on either side. There is not the exact same topology, okay? If you take this off the center of the world, let's turn off symmetry. You take this off the center of the world, okay, and we turn symmetry back on, okay, we want still symmetry here, okay? So that's what this button does. If I turn this off, now you can see my one orange dot's on the other side, and then so when I sculpt on this side of the face or whatever I'm making here, it doesn't happen on the other side, okay? So that is what the point of this is. But now there's two modes to local symmetry, right? So now this, as you can see, is still symmetrical, right? But now, if you have the newer ZBrush, there's now a dynamic version of this local symmetry. So for those of you that are still in the older ZBrush, you don't have this ability. This was a new feature we've added since we've been part of Maxon. To give you an example, so for those of you in 2022 still, you can't do what I'm about to do, right? So what I can do now is I can say, hey, let's actually rotate the model and do this, okay? And then now I still have symmetry, right? So this is what's new to local symmetry. You now have the, and I'm in the newest version of ZBrush. I'm in 2026.2 is what I'm in, right? So this dynamic is giving us the ability to have this now. So even though the model's sitting somewhere else in the world, I can still have symmetry. So that's what this is doing for you. And again, the mesh is not symmetrical. However, this is now also looking at things. So one thing that will work still now, is if I go to this mirror and welding, it will still work. So you can see the topology change. I'm going to undo and redo. So now this topology is being changed to match this exact topology. So technically, I can make the topology different, right? 2018 does not have this ability. There is a grip of stuff that's completely different from 2018 and 2026. You're talking like 15 full versions of ZBrush between 2018 and 2026.2 probably. Like you're a ton of features you don't have if you're using 2018. Okay? So this is what that now new dynamic does. So this is rotated and it is off center. Okay, but what you got to probably check is this new dynamic option. What we did to make this happen is you guys have asked us for this, right? Is be able to move your symmetry axes how you want. So what now this is looking at is the gizmo. So wherever the gizmo is sitting on this model, that is what it's looking at. So what you need to make sure is your gizmo is still sitting like the way it is. So for what I mean by that is if I now rotate my gizmo like this and do this, if you look now, the red arrow is my x-axis, right? So that's what it's using for symmetry now. So if you look, I've got a dot up here by the orbital bone, and I got a dot way down here, right? So you can see it will come closer. So now one's by the nose and one's by the cheek. So that might be why, is this is what is controlling the dynamic part of local. We had to give something for us to manipulate and say, hey, what's going to be the item that sets our symmetry up, right? So this is now broken. I no longer have symmetry, okay? So yeah, 2018 is almost 10 years old now because we released 2018 actually in 2017. So that's way behind, right? So you're a lot of versions behind if you're still in 2018. Okay, so now what I need to do is fix this. And we've got multiple ways that we can fix this. One of the easiest ways to do this, and in this case it's going to be easy because my topology is actually symmetrical, right? But because it's symmetrical, I have a center line right down the middle here, right? So if I switch to the gizmo, all right, and if I hold Alt and click on this dot and then drag to that dot, you'll see the gizmo aligns through this. And you see that green arrow, blue arrow, red arrow update. You see the red arrow? Now look. Now if you look, I now have sculptural symmetry again. Right? Back. The gizmo is the item that helps me determine what is symmetrical. All right, so let's take this off again. The reservate. Whoops. Let's do this, and then let's even do this, where it's completely somewhere else in space. Right. So now symmetry. Forget about it. See, you're gonna have a dot out in outer space. You're gonna dot on the model. So the other thing you can do is ZModeler. When we did this, we did something in ZModeler. Okay, what we did is when you hover over a face, you can actually do a set symmetry. And you can do the same thing if you're hovering over an edge, you have a set symmetry. If you're hovering over a vertex point, you have a set symmetry as well. Okay, so I'm just going to use the face one. And so what this is saying, hey, ZBrush, I'm going to give you either a face, an edge, or a vertex point, and then I'm going to give you another one. And what I want you to do is make the gizmo sit right in the middle of that, which in our case is then going to be the center of this mesh, right? Because then now technically I can say let's click that one and let's click that one, and you'll notice the gizmo now sits perfectly in the middle of those two faces, and those two faces happen to be perfectly on the opposite sides. So now my gizmo's realigned. So once again, I now have symmetry. Right? Okay? So again, this is going to open up things. Mirror and weld, we're going to have this, right? When I redynamesh, I can mirror and weld it. Now, if you have a mesh that is already perfectly symmetrical, let's say you Z-remesh it, or let's say in this case I've got a mesh, it's this. We also, if this is off in the reservation off somewhere else in space, if you want, we added an ability in our symmetry. When you turn this on, there's this button called Use Posable Symmetry. When you click this, we are analyzing the mesh and seeing that, hey, both sides are exactly symmetrical. And when you turn the gizmo on, look, it's sitting dead center of the model. And you see where my red arrow again is perfect. My green, my blue. So once again, right, because this is not what I had, right? I had this, and then I moved it to that. So these are all the ways that you could reset your symmetry of how this works. Okay? Does that make sense? So this is what you have to do if you have a model off center, okay, and rotated. Like, that is what this feature now does. That's what you guys have the ability to do, but you're going to need the newest version of ZBrush to do this, right? You can't be in 2022. You got to be at least in, I think we added this actually in 2023 is when we added it. It might have been 2024, but I want to say it was 2023 when we added this, I think. I could be wrong. I don't remember now. Okay, so that should answer your question for that. All right, cool. All right, so the bevel one, the thing you have to understand is we're in ZBrush. Okay, you're coming probably from a world of you want the low topology to actually have the bevel. But we're ZBrush. We're a sculpting app. You're going to divide up. You're going to add polygons because you're going to take advantage of having more topology when you're doing this. All right, so there's things that you can do, but probably what you're really looking for, it's not going to be a quick solution. Okay, so what I mean by this, okay, so let's send this back home. Let's redo this. Let's look towards the front. Let's now make this a cube. All right, and I'll size this up a lot bigger. And let's just add a couple polygons this way. Let's add some more this way. Let's add some more this way. Okay, so what I mean by you're in ZBrush, I'm assuming, I'm going to go to ZModeler. You are looking for something. Let's do now a bridge. Let's do a connecting. We'll do a Bayesian curve, and we'll do tangents. So I'm assuming you're looking for something like this, right? And I will do some more, do some more, do some more. Okay, I'm assuming this is what you're looking for. You're looking for something like this, but you want it on like the low polygon version. I'm assuming this is what you're looking for, entertainment jerk. I'm assuming that's what you're asking for, right? It's something like this. So you do have the ability, right, to continue just tap, 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 and go across, right? And then you now have this. What the problem is, you're going to have a face here and faces here at the end. There's no way to do this, because in order to make this this happen with just this one polygon, n-gons have to be made. We don't allow n-gons. You can't sculpt on an n-gon. We don't allow them. It's not possible to sculpt on an n-gon because we're sculpting on vertexes. So an n-gon doesn't have anything in the middle, so we don't allow it. So to close this off, I would have to do a couple other steps. I would have to delete by flat island. I would have to delete that like probably not like this one. I would just want to delete this face, right? So in this scenario, I would want to probably delete these faces here. So those are gone. And delete those faces there. So those are gone. And now I need to delete a single polygon and a single polygon. Okay, and then this is why we can't close this off. All these vertex in here would need an n-gon. It's not possible to create an n-gon. So this needs to be closed off. So you could just use this and tap and we close it for you. And tap it and close it. So I'm assuming you're looking for something like this is what you're looking for. Is what I would assume is what you're looking for. Okay, but in the world of ZBrush, you could get to this, but you want it obviously with one click. I mean, you can't do this. It's not possible because of the n-gons. But there are other things that you can do to make this happen. Number one is divide. When you divide, it's automatically going to give you actually a curve here, right? Because now these have to smooth. So as I go up in divisions, right, this is going to smooth out, right? And then if I now just start sliding this, it's going to change, and this, it's changing this now, right? It's changing that to try to even be more like this one, right? So you can make it tighter, right? This kind of a thing, in a way, right? Obviously, you divide, you're going to be able to do this. However, when you divide, all right, let's go back. Okay, again, we're a sculpting app, right? So let's just divide this up. Let's go here. So this is why we make then brushes like this. Instead of just doing it on the polygons and be also constrained to polygons, we allow you to just sculpturally go and just say, let's just sculpturally do it. Right? And then now I can just do this, and I'm sculpturally doing the same exact thing. Right? So this is my point, is I don't need to necessarily do what you're kind of asking for. Okay? This is one way. I can sculpturally do things like this. Okay? And then you could also, if you think about this, right, we'll keep this one. You could also do something like, let's take slicing rectangle, have no, and say, let's do, say, something like this. And now that you have this slice right here, right, we can now mask off. And now this, like, if you just start smoothing, right, this is going to start taking that on, right, of that. I can now also say, hey, you know what, let's go down here to deformation. Let's start polishing this a lot, right, and I'll start polishing. However, you can also start using these brushes, right? So I could use a clipping curve and come across and now just add something like that. And then now I have it, right? Because I've got topology to play with, right? I'm just thinking, if you've got topology to play with, you can do this. So the one thing you got to think about in ZBrush world, this, what you're looking for, you can only do it on low polygon. Like if you took this mesh to another application and try to do this the low polygon way, it's not going to be possible because there's too much topology here, okay? The other way that you can think about doing this, all right, is let's do brush Z modeler. Let's come in here, let's go polygroup, let's do fill. I'm going to make this be a polygroup, all right? And then let's do this, let's do flat island. Let's do flat island, and then let's make that be a polygroup. Right, so now I have this, and then I can do this. So in essence, I want two different polygroups right here. Right, I want this one and I want this one. I want these two polygroups. Okay? And I'm going to now use something that we did before, right? I can say brush, extrude brush, do this, and here's some freedom that we're going to have now. Again, you don't have to have a really dense mesh to do this, by the way, either. Okay, so I'm going to go to stroke and do this same thing. Boom. Okay, so what have I gotten here? I've gotten this curve that's going to allow me, so you see this one right here, I'm going to say let's tap, and now I get this. Okay, and I'm going to say let's make this even bigger, and tap, bigger, tap, right? I can just tap on this curve, and then keep updating, come to when it's red, tap, and see it's getting bigger and 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 bigger, right? So this is topology. So in essence, I can make my own versions of these, what I'm going to be getting at with this. So now that I have this, we can move this wherever we want in space. This kind of a thing, okay? And then we're going to be able to stretch it. We're able to do a whole bunch of stuff. But what I can do then is split this off, right? And then now this is its own piece of topology, okay? And then now once again you subtract, and then now you've got this ability. I can move it in space wherever I want. Now I can do that. I can stretch it, and I can visually see the difference, right? So I can stretch it, and then now you would see that. Then I can move it and watch it slowly change. Stretch it some more out. Maybe do this direction stretching, right? It's now I've got a freedom. I can look at it smooth, and I can commit. I don't have to commit. There's things like this as well. So you have this ability, and again, if I just make topology that makes sense to make these kind of different bevels happen, I totally could do this. And in fact, I could use the Z modeler to make a whole bunch of different ones of these that would work. And all these are made from our flat planes. That's what all these are made from, is a flat plane. In all honesty, that's it. Okay, so you would want to, if I'm making this, I would probably do the thought process of taking, like, you know, a plane. Let's see. We wouldn't want this much topology for sure. So let's go to initialize. Let's see, 8 by 8. Let's see. Now I want, make sure I have a middle. Okay, I got a middle. Okay, so what I mean by middle, I want like middle. So I want to look at these as quadrants. Here's one quadrant, second quadrant, blah, 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 blah. Okay? And so what I mean, when we look at this, let's switch to Z modeler, is these faces right here, right? This is a quadrant, in essence. Okay? If I now delete these, right, and say delete hidden, you now have these, right? You have these faces at my disposal, these vertex points, and I can start even playing and trying, hey, let's clip this perfect circle, right? And I can do stuff like this. Let's see, yeah. Right? And then now that's going out like that, right? And then I can say, okay, let me now, this one, I want it to live up this high, and it needs to start aligning. So here we'll come in here so we can zoom in. I want maybe this, and then something like that. Let's just say, and then I want this. Let's move this down, and let's move this to like somewhere around there. That world, right? Okay. And I'm just going to crease it. Crease outside, so I'll just do a crease so everything in the outside gets. So when you divide, this is what you're getting, something like this. Okay. And now if we go back to that extruder brush, that's how all of these are made. They're made this way from a plane, right? I can technically get rid of this topology too if I want. So if I go to brush, and it's going to take on the name, and I say from mesh, it's added it to the end. But what ZBrush does in this flat plane is it extrudes it, see, along the way. So it automatically makes this extrude, which in essence is a beveling. So if we go back to this, right, you're going to have the ability here, instead of using this piece, right, I would now use this piece. Okay, so I would turn this off. I've got this on. Once again, I got this. Now I just tap on this, right? And right now I have it sitting the wrong way. So I would probably fix that too. I probably want to do this. And again, now see, I have this at my disposal to move around. So it's just another way of thinking about this. That's all, right? And now I can split this, and then now this one becomes a subtract, right? We'll turn this off, and then now we'll smooth it, and then we'll smooth this one as well, and then there you go, and then now this is centering, and then now I can make it, and then boom, there you go. Same concept, the idea, right? But now I'm doing it with a lot of topology, right? And I can move all this around, and then I can even use a deformer, right? Because this is a piece of geometry, right? So we can say, hey, let's use a deformer, and now you guys have a deformer to use, right? So you can manipulate this way, so I can take this and move this around and see, look, you can completely make a different looking shape. Bless me. Right, I could take these points and move it around and see, look, I can completely change the look of this. Bless me, to do something like this, right? So it's my world. It's my world. Okay, so this would be my answers for your question. What I know what you really want low polygon. It's just right now it's not possible in ZBrush to not do it without a bunch of clicks. It's possible, but with a bunch of clicks. But what I'm trying to show is we're ZBrush, so there's also other ways to accomplish this, especially when your topology isn't good, right? Or it's a Dynamesh. Like then you're in, like if you're staying in low polygon world, then yeah. But if you're not in low polygon world, now you got problems. Okay, it's Paul recover previous streams. All my streams and what I'm doing right now all go on our YouTube channel. So you can go to our YouTube channel and put my name in, and you're going to see all the streams. You'll probably see a bunch of streams here of me working on this X-Wing, because also when I'm doing this stream, I'm usually going on tangents like we just did, answering your guys' questions. Okay? All right. Okay, wait, so your other question about your symmetry thing here. The posable symmetry does look for topology. Yes, posable, that use posable symmetry, the topology has to be exact. Okay? It has to be, so what I mean by that is if we load something else here, let's load him. Let's load something, let's load Nick's model. Okay, so if I'm loading this, okay, and he's got, I think, some layers on this, so I don't even want the layers. Let's just bake them, yep. Okay, so this model is perfectly symmetrically like the topology. So this is what you would need. And then that's what this button is looking for. It's analyzing the subtool, and it's doing a left side, right side, and making sure every vertex point's sitting in the exact same locations, left side to right side relationship. So that you have to have this. If I turn this into a Dynamesh, it's a no-go. If I use Sculptures Pro on it, it's a no-go. If I did other things where I have a piece of geometry that I've done some Booleans operations or anything like that, it's a no-go. Okay? It has to be symmetrical. So that's what this button's doing. However, you guys got to understand, once you've done this, there are other things you guys can take advantage of. Like for example, I'm going to go over the hand, and like, let's say I do this, which now there's a mask. And I go, oh no, I forgot to turn on symmetry. Because the mesh is symmetrical, I can come in here and I can just say mirror, right? This. And then start saying, okay, well, I want to flip it to and things like this. So I want to start using masking to do stuff, okay? Right, so when I'm making changes, so here, let's take this guy to even. Let's divide him up. Okay, so what I mean is here, if we do this, okay, I want to now flip it to the other side and flip it back, flip it to the other side, or mirror it over and get it on both sides. So this model, topology-wise, is symmetrical. So this is what also allows me. So this is why at some point you do want to get into a mesh that is clean and the topology is symmetrical, because then there's a bunch of other features you can take advantage of, right? I.e. this way, right? If I made this mask and say, oh, I want it on the other side, I can then say flip it to the other side. Oh, and now I want it on both sides. I can mirror it over. This is only happening because the topology is symmetrical. This also works with polypaint. So if I'm painting something, let's color fill it, and then let's grab some red. And like if I do some red here, do some blue on his hand, let's go in the back here and let's throw some purple. All right, so this also in poly paint, you have the ability, here, let's make this all white, that right in here, same thing. Okay, flip it, and now it's on the other side. So now if we do a solo, there's the blue hand, the red, and the purple. If I flip it, I put it on the other side. And if I mirror it, it's going to give me both, but you see it's faded. It's faded because, once again, it's looking at both sides to make the poly paint. Well, one side has a saturated red, blue, and purple, and the other side only has white. So when you do this mirroring, we're taking both sides and mixing it together, right? Because it's a painting program as well. So what I can do is, hey, when you're factoring in this side, I'm going to mask it off and just say, hey, don't touch, like don't use this, like just do a copy of this to the other side. So when you go ahead and say mirror it over, I get the same thing. So what this is telling it is, this is the side that's really the most important paint side to me. So just copy this right over to the other side. This side isn't important to me anymore, so replace it. So what I mean by that is, if we now did, here, let's do a green, and I did a green stripe down his arm like this, and let's throw in some orange as well. Okay, so now that I've done this, right, if I do this, and then now if I tell it to mirror it, you see the green and the orange is deleted. Because what I'm telling ZBrush is this arm is the #1 most important thing, i.e. factor it in, but don't touch it, and now make this the main factored item to put the paint to the other side. And this is all possible because his topology is perfectly symmetrical. You can, even as the character's posed, you can still activate the use posable symmetry. Right, really the goal of that feature was, when we started going into like posing, when you did this, right, we wanted now to be able to give us the ability that when I turn symmetry on, right, I want to have symmetry, we'll turn local off. I want to have, when it's sculpting here on the palm of the hand, having it there. So I can come in here and say use posable symmetry, and now you see I'm on both hands, going across the arms, up the bicep, and then down the body. Okay, that's really what posable symmetry was for. But now we keep reusing it, like the thought process, the idea of it. We keep using it over and over and over and over again in ZBrush to make some really insane features, in my opinion. Does that help? Does that answer the question for you all? Okay, perfecto. Sorry, I have to move it back over. Okay. So back to the X-Winger. All right, let me load my where I was at. Number 47. Okay, there. That's where I was at. Okay, I don't want this one, so let's delete it all. Okay, boom, bada, boom. Okay. Now, again, back to this, because I got all the questions, right? Got all the questions. I'm blocking out. Again, I'm trying to make this back portion all the greeble that's in the back there. So I want to make sure I have made the physical size of this good to go, is what my concern is right now. So these other pieces are going to help me do that, in all honesty. That's what's going to help me with this. So I'm going to start really doing really quick blockouts in here. I think we're going to be okay, honestly. I'm not going to lie with you. I think we're going to be alright. We're going to be okay. It's going to be alright, people. Okay. Let's now do the cube here. So let's go back into this. I'm going to go back to the gizmo. I'm going to hold control so then it masks everything out but that cylinder. And this is kind of why I like this workflow, because then I can make a copy. Then I go make a cube. Okay, that cube needs to sit here. It comes into here. It's going to sit deeper. So it sits more in that realm. Let's see how far down this goes. It does stick out just a little bit. This direction here. Like barely. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's just visually get this a little bit better. I'm going to crease the outer edging so I can see this. Alright, and this now needs to live more like right here. It's butting up right next to this, in essence. Something more like that. Then I would say it needs to also come forward a lot more. Let me see from this side. Yeah, it doesn't go all the way up to it. I think I've gone a little too far. I want to lift more, probably right there. I would say that's good. All right. Let's brush the modeler. Again, I can use clean topology. I can use any topology that I want here for this, right? We're gonna do this for now, this for now. Let's uncrease this for now. So it gives me that rounded shape that should be here for this. And then now these points need to live a lot closer to here. Looks like it's gonna butt right into there, just barely. Something more like that. And then the height of it, we're gonna have to factor that in now. Okay, I think the base of it's pretty good. So let's take this base. I'm gonna go up just a bit more. I'm gonna go right around that world. Okay. And I would say the base of this, okay, so needs to sit towards the bottom of this cylinder, somewhere in that realm. And I would say that's looking pretty close to what we have in here. It's not bad. It's pretty good. Okay, lifted topology. Okay, yes. All right, and then we need a cube. It's going to sit inside there. All right. Let's take. See, I see it. Cylinder, cube. Okay. See, this is where I think the bottom portion we might need to play with a little bit more. I think we're going to need to play a little bit with the body of this. I think it's just I'm just feeling it. I'm just feeling it out. Okay, so now let's take this. I'm going to duplicate it. Then we need a cube once again. I'm just going to right out the gate have nothing going on. Let's crease the edging so I have this. This is going to sit like this. So how far back does it go? Oops. Okay. I would say, hard to tell. Is that on an angle? It's tough to tell. I think it's an optical illusion. Okay. The 6 back, I think I'm at a pretty good spot. I think I need to go back a little bit more. That might be too much, but we'll find out. Okay. Then it's doing this. Okay. Then it's on an angle. And it's coming right across. So I need to now. This is going to come across. So this now, let's mask these out. Let's mask this out. And it needs to come right across like so. I see that little triangle. I think we're pretty good. Yeah, we're pretty good. Pretty good. Not too bad. Not too bad. Not the worst. I don't know why I'm doing the voice. Just go with it. And then this is going to go all the way up like that. It's going to go all the way to the top. both of these all should be all the way to the top. So let's just put them on the same level. Let's go all the way up here. Okay, they're gonna live right in that part. Okay, and then now 1, 2, 3. Okay, we have 3. Let's see what we get here. All right, so I'm gonna break this off. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Let's take this. I'm gonna duplicate this for now, and I want it in this folder. Okay. All right, and let's go to View 2. Let's turn this off and turn these on. Okay, so View 1 has everything. View 2 has what I'm working on. I'm going to make this be intersect. All right, and then let's turn live boolean on and go this route. So we can start to see something that's going to happen here. Let's now take let's take these faces, let's inset it. Flat island, and then let's inset it a little bit. Let's see if it can do a better job, not create so many triangles. Whoops. Let's do, inset. Guess this, we want this one. Let's see how well it can do. Not bad. I think I'll stick with this. So let's go about there. Let's shrink it. Make that a polygroup. And then this is gonna get Q-meshed in. Q-mesh polygroup all. Let's see how deep that goes. It goes pretty deep. I'm gonna go right around that world. Right, and then now let's make sure everything's creased. I like creasing this way, so that's fine, that's fine. Definitely don't want that creased, that creased, that creased, and that creased. So something like that. I want those creased. That creased, so I want that one creased. I think we'll go this route. Crease a single edge. Alright, let's say something, and then, oh, we need this. Yes, we need that creased and that creased. We need those creased for sure. Okay. We'll clean up the topology. I'll clean up the topology inside later. Okay, so now this is what we've got. And so now this is to cut the surface. Okay, so now we have that. Right, and then now this needs to sit more inside the surface. Probably something more like that. And now I want it, whoops, wrong item. I want it to sit a little bit more further up. transparency. Let me look at this. How close does it get to the top? Gets pretty darn close. Okay. Turn off transparency, and then now what I'm looking at is I'm using my mesh that is going to be my body to see when I'm making this, is this really got the right negative space? Okay, that's what I'm looking for right now. And I think I've gone a little too extreme with some of this. So now I can use this and we can say, hey, this QMesh polyloop, I'm going to play with this a little bit. I'm going to go not as extreme. I'm going to go more in that realm. Which I got to be careful. It's making it pretty thin. I'm going to have to double check that and see. Okay. And then now, see this piece. Let me look at this. You're going to definitely want this to overlap a little bit more. So now I'm going to take this. Okay, do this. I'm going to put an edge loop in here. And let's actually make it snap halfway. There we go. That way, when I switch to this, I can do that. This needs to come up a little bit more, I think. And then where it's sitting is fine. It's going to need to come in just a touch. Just a touch. Like right there. And let's see if it's gotten too small. I think we're still safe. Okay. That's that. It does go up to there. Okay. I don't know about this. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, I think I want this to be a little more sharp through there. Okay, so we'll have to look at that and see. I think it's rounding maybe too much here, right, for me. No, not an inset. I want insert. Let's see. Insert single edge loop. Problem with that is it's so much topology. I think, okay, we'll keep it there. Nano is for sure. Okay. And then, okay, so far, and then this is going to have brush Z modeler. This is going to have insert an edge loop. Okay, but let's insert it with creasing. Let's not have snapping, let's have creasing. Okay, say it's about that big. And now I need another one up here, here, and then another one. And let's slide a complete edge loop. Okay, let's see how I'm faring off from this. I think we might be okay. So now I want, let's just do this. I want this polygon, and this polygon. Okay, wait. I don't like, hold on. I am going to delete these. So when I delete, I want to match that. So I want to be there, not there. Whoops. Now we want one right about there. Another one right about there. Now we can unsolo it. Okay, let's see how close we are. Now we want this, this, and this. And we want to Q-mesh these out just a bit. Right, something like this. And then this I want all creased right now. Crease all. And I want to see how far off this is now. Okay, this one comes down a lot more, for sure. So this one. Needs to actually align with that. And then this one, which I think I have these too big, needs to come down more. Oops. A lot closer. More in there. Okay, I think we're pretty good actually. It's not bad. I don't know if I like the angle, so that's something I'm gonna have to go work on, or the angles. Whoops. I want the opposite. I want to mask this off. And then use the gizmo. It's more like that. Okay. Alright, and then I gotta start putting all the other parts into here. No questions, no comments, no concerns from everybody. Alright, we are moving along. What a stream. Okay, so let's take this. I need to center this. I need to copy this. There'll be a spherical shape about yay big sitting in here. That's pretty good. And then let me see how this looks. Then we have this. Let's turn it into once again a cube. We gotta make sure that it's creased. Alright, and then this is going to live up here. It's a little bit longer, a little bit wider. Something more like, and it gotta do that. Okay, and now I think more of it needs to be exposed. Let's turn off polyframe so I can see it. So I think it's got to be more like this. I think it's more in that realm. Even more this way. I think we've lucked out that I've got. I think we're pretty on point right now with the top half. It's I'm happy with it. I'm pretty pleased with it. Let's make the plate here. Okay, so let's just so I visually can see this. Alright, so we need to make this a different polygroup now. I will definitely want this to be a different polygroup, so Control W. That way I can still take advantage of this ability. Alright, and let's see, we're going to duplicate this. We're going to shrink this down. Something like this. Then it sits here. Then it's bigger. Something like that. Okay, how much bigger? I'd say I go maybe somewhere around that part of the world bigger. And then let's go ahead and deformation this. We don't need this. We'll work symmetrically. And let's keep that center point. And then all we care about are these guys. And so now it comes up like this. It's going to come up like this far. Okay, I'm going to accept that one because I didn't add enough points. Then I want to now add more points this way. And then now, let's take these, move it more out like this. So it does something like this. And then let's take this, and it starts to do something. Oh, interesting. Okay. Alright. Just get a general where I want this to live for it. And then this point, so let's work symmetrically. These come way up more, like that. Something like this. And then same thing for these. Flatten out. Okay, something like that. Okay, that gives me that, and then it actually gets brought in as well. So let's do that with the deformer. Let's now move these. Oops, I gotta accept. Alright, let's do a deformer. And now let's move these. It needs to come in. How far in? Not very far, just in a little bit. And I think, right, all of these points, this is eventually going to now come more out like that. And then down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Oops, definitely don't want that. Let's just play it safe. Let's only look at this. Let's accept. Let's make a new one. Making a new one. Just doing it one point at a time. And now I can manipulate this to be a little bit more rounded. There. Something like that. Good enough. It'll probably bother me though, so I'm gonna wait. I want these bad guys. Center it. There. Okay. Right, I'm really starting to see this come together. Right, so this is kind of like a blocking out phase. I'm gonna save next for me. Again, I'm trying to make sure that the physical size of the entire X-Wing body is good to go. Okay, so when I come back here, I want to start seeing, you know, this kind of thing. Right, this is what I need to know if that is going to happen. So right now, I'm just blocking out the back portion here. Okay, and of course, I'm not sitting I didn't do the other side, right? So I would want this kind of a thing, and then I would say I'm going to locally mirror and weld it over. Oh, I need the other side. Let's see, yes. We need a flippy. What am I doing? Yes, my brain's got to work. Brain work. Brain function. Brain work. Brain function. Right, so there. Now I have both sides. Just mirrored and welded it over. Right, so I'm really building that up. I think we got something here. I think we've got something here. Nick, for the deformers, we do have documentation on every single deformer and what they do. When we rolled them out, we did do it. They're really old, but I use them a ton, especially that, you know, deformer that we're all used to having in other applications. Definitely I have. I know we have had that. So I know we do somewhere. I'd have to find it though. Alright, so now I'm going to start making the bottom half of this. So I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to turn that into a cube. Again, I'm going to crease it because it's more of a cubical shape down there at the bottom. It is definitely way skinnier. It's more something in that realm. I'll keep my glasses on my head, and then definitely a lot smaller. Something probably more in that, but then this is where I'd want to see this in relationship to it. Okay. Should not be that. This is where I think the bottom still is going to need just a tad bit more. Just a tad bit more outside. Alright. Okay. It's pretty big gap. So let's do this. Let's do this. It comes more up like that. Okay, let's definitely do a mirror and weld now. Okay. I'll do that because let's now start working symmetrically. This actually does this. And then mirror, creasing, complete uncrease. Let's crease. Oops. Do something more like that. Even a little bit more sharp. I think I'm going to need to crease this edge. Alright, let's drop our crease levels down. So when we're looking at this dynamically, I get a little bit better understanding. Okay, this is definitely not this deep. Not even close. So it should not go out too much further. So it should sit here and go right about there, I would say. Alright, so now let's see what it looks like in conjunction to this. Okay, I'm not actually, maybe I'm not that far off. I think it needs to be a little bit skinnier. You know, I might be okay with what I've been doing here. We might be okie dokies. I think it needs to still be a little bit skinnier for me. And then I think it needs to sit more up, further, higher like that. And we will use something else to make sure. Let's also just here. I've been doing a lot, so let's just save next again. Okay. All right, Nick, you found it. That's good. That is good to know. I'm going to do it so it's more like this. Okay, and let me now go to this, turn the polyframe on. Okay, actually might be okay. I think now. Look symmetrically. I think these now have to come down more. I think it's too extreme. I think we... No way are we getting this. It's not bad. I think we're okay. Alright, so now let's do this. This has now a spherical shape. Cylinder. Not that one. I want this one. It's a lot smaller, and it sits here down here at the tip. And it kind of sits right around that world. Oh, I would say it sits there, and then there's another one that's going to make a boolean right there. Okay. I think I'm fine. I love it when things start working out for us a little bit more. That's convenient. That's convenient. All right, and then I'd say it now needs a cylinder. That I would say is probably the same size here. So let's mask these off. I'm gonna work. Whoops. It's this way. And I don't think they're too much bigger. I think I'll go a little bit bigger. Not crazy amount, but just a touch bigger. Then it's going to sit here. Somewhere right around, whoops, right around there. I think that's good. And the other one I'd say sits just a bit more outside, like that. Might be too much. Let's go ahead and center this, make sure we're centered. Mirror weld that over. And we got that. And then there's some piping, some other cubicle elements that I'll have to put in here too. It's tough to see what that is. Okay, we're just gonna do pipe. Okay, and there's a cube. Okay, interesting. Okay. So let's take this little guy. Okay, let's duplicate it. Let's inverse the mask, make that a new polygroup. So now I can continue this process. This is a pretty rectangular shape. Something like this. Okay, and then it's sitting here. Sits more into this world. Okay, let's turn dynamic off so we can make these shapes where they sit, because the tubing is also going to be key for this. I'd say it's more there. Then it sits way back further, more like in that realm. Actually, it needs to come out just a bit more. Probably something like that. And then it sits right about there, so we need this masked off now so I can readjust this. And then doing that. Okay. And then it's not as tall. It needs to sit right about the bottom of that. It works. It works. Yep. 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 Alright, so let's center this. But actually, let's first center it on this. We get the whole thing. Let's do this. We are going to now need cylinders. Boom. Okay, those cylinders now need to sit this way. And we got to size them up a lot more. I think that's probably big enough. Yeah, I think that's big enough. Okay, and then it's going to sit way inside. Like, we'll just do that for now. I would say let's bring it down a little bit more. I'd say right about there. Then we need to duplicate it, rotate it, and then this should live all the way up to pretty much touching that cylinder. And then they need to go, it needs to come up a lot more, probably more right about there, I would say. Let's say right around there. I would say right around there, right around there, right around there. Okay, so let's crease so we can get a better gauge of this. Okay, so this one, I don't like where that is now that I've creased it. See, this is why it's important to look at what does it look like when it's creased. I say more like that. Okay, maybe a little bit more down. More in that realm. Okay, and then now let's take these faces. Let's delete, not just for save my next. Yeah, I don't. Well, the mic is just because I just get loud. I think it's just pushing the mic. I'm not letting it get past the green levels in OBS, so I'll have to see if we can perfect it next stream. Because I'm almost done anyways. Let's see, flat island, delete. Let's delete flat island. Let's delete this. Let's delete this. And then let's take a bridge. Let's close. Let's bridge 2 holes. I'm going to go tight round corners. Let's see what that one looks like. Clip here. Tap here. That's not bad. Not bad. Not too bad. I think let's see what it looks like more on a circular. Let's do more of a circle. Let's see what that looks like. I think I might prefer the circle. I'm gonna go with the circle. I prefer the circle. I'm going with the circle, people. I'm going with the circle. I'm going with the circle. Right, and then now this, let's extrude these out so I don't connect with anything. These, oops, this gets a lot bigger. More in that realm. And then let's crease this because this should be creased. Okay, I'm unfortunately going to get going here soon because I have to go pick my daughter up at school. Alright, I would love to stay more and chat, but eventually here I got to get going. Alright, and then now let's take one of these. Oops. And then now center that, reset it, this, and then this has got to become now a cube. We're going to crease it, and then these gets a lot skinnier. I'm not going to go too skinny because again I'm 3D printing, and it needs to do something like that. Let's see. Yeah, it's like a plate. Something like that. But it needs to sit here, then here, and then come a lot bigger that way. Keep going. Say something like that. And then now it sits right there. That works for me. Right, I think we are good. So let's now go back to this. Okay, we'll turn this off. And then now let's once again, saving, let's go to this, and we'll solo this out. We are going to, just so polygroup, flat island, just so visually you guys can see, we're going to do that. Then I'm going to inset. I wanted to take that. You know, maybe we'll do the standard instead. Polygroup all. Okay, we'll do the standard again. And then that way it doesn't create triangles. We'll do that. And then QMesh. Polygroup all. And then this gets pushed way in. And then now this is what we've got. And now this, let's crease this by a complete edge loop. So now I have this, that, and this. El perfecto. Oh, this down here, we need that. Oh, right there too. Let's make sure creasing that side too as well. And then now, boom. Now we've got the start of our back. Just like that. And I think the size of the body is good to go. I am very pleased. Okay, so guys, this is, I think, really huge for hard surface, this whole thing I did today. Because it really sees, that's why I didn't go crazy on the body, because there's things I'm going to want to set up, and then I'm going to move up here next. I'm not going to do all the detailing of this right away. I'm just creating shapes that are going to represent, but some of these shapes are almost at the point I need them. And then I'm going to start doing the part up here where R2D2 is and make sure I have the right length, and then I'll start looking at other things, mapping stuff out, and just make sure I am good to go. On the length of the body, the width of the body, the height of the body, all this before I start going down the rabbit hole of starting to make the body now look really good. Okay, because there are some things I'm off a little bit on, or on the wings that I'm not happy about, that I'll fix later. I think I'll take a stab at fixing them later. We'll go that route. But I think right now we're getting an X-wing, people. We're making it happen. We're making it happen. Alright, hey, good evening. Check the make levels. Okay, great stream. Thanks, Paul. Never have a symmetry trouble. Okay, great. Great to hear. Alright, unfortunately, I gotta skedaddle. I gotta take off. I appreciate you guys jumping in, watching the stream. I'm pretty sure I'm going to schedule next Friday. Let's double check. I think I am. I'm going to be able to do that schedule. Let's double check and make sure. So give me a second. Let me get into here. Let's look at the schedule. Let's rip this off because, guys, ZBrush Central, huh? We can start posting in these in here, like work in progress stuff, eh? Okay, so if I go ZBrush Live, this is where you guys can get the schedule of who's actually streaming. Okay, you can see who's up next and who's going on, so who's coming up. So let's see, I think I'm on the schedule. If I'm not, I can put myself on it. I think 15th. Yeah, I am there. Okay, I don't know if I'll be able to go to 1:30, but I'll be able to stream because I'm flying out to Europe actually next Friday. My plane, I'm gonna have to probably leave. We might have to cut next week's short, right? But I will. I'll jump on for at least an hour. So tell your friends, tell your people, you wanna come hang out with us and listen to me tell some bad jokes and do look up here's, and do some things, Lisa needs braces moments, look up here, look up here, look up here, look up here, look up here. I'm doing it all for the users. Okay, so there you got all my little things. Radius, fillet, crease. Yeah, unfortunately, Nick, I gotta get going. I'd love to help, but I gotta bounce. I gotta go pick up my. Hold on, let me double check. Let's see, maybe my wife might be getting her. Hold on, let me double check my text messages. Maybe we luck out. Hold on. If she's getting her, then I can answer your question. If she's not getting her, I need to go. Can't leave her hanging. Okay. Okay, they're getting her. Okay, so I can answer your question. I don't have to leave at this moment. Okay. So, what is your question? I had a cool techie question about variable radius fillet. I think you probably joined late, but it sounds like you're asking what something we did cover. So you're talking about, like, are you talking about just doing, you want something that you can control, like bevels and things like this, right? We did do something a little bit like this. I'm not sure if that's what you're asking, but let's just again double check and see. I want to go bigger. Make it a lot bigger. And then let's make it, we don't need that many. Let's go 8. Okay. I think, are you looking for, again, there is a part of this stream, so if you're joining late, that we covered this really quick. I'm going to do a bridge. Let's do this. Are you looking for something like this? Is that what you're asking for? Something like that? This I can get rid of. Okay, something on a car. Yes, you could do something like that, like it's on a car, right? If we, let's take our car that we have in here. Let's see if we can use something on Henry's car. Hold on, let me make sure I saved this. Well, that would stink. Okay. Let's load the car. Let's load the car. Okay. Okay, because he doesn't have a door. We could probably use... We can try this piece. Okay. So this is something where definitely, obviously, if you have low polygons like this, right, you can just start creasing these edges, right? And this is kind of the way I would do it if you want to go low polygon, right? So now it's got, see a crease happening, and then see it kind of will slowly dissipate off, right? It's going to come down to your topology as well, right? And then where it is on the topology. So if I want to come up the car, you can get something like that, okay? But if you want, let's say our scenario here, let's just only look at this, okay? So let's, our scenario is this, he's got this, and then we've got something that is actually way more dense. I'm gonna have to reopen. I need to look at that. I need to see what's causing that. Found a bug. Okay. Let's reload the car. Interesting that the apply. Okay, let's select this body. I want to see something. Oh, no. Does it? Okay, I found a bug. And repeatable. Perfect. Okay. Good. Okay. Gotta get that fixed. Alright, let's get back to the car. Alright, so we're gonna do this another way. Come on. Alright. Let's take also one thing to keep in mind with creasing, okay? Let's turn off the dynamic because there's something going on in this version with dynamic that we're going to need to take a look at. But I'll divide up. It's the same thing. Let's go about here. Delete lower. Okay. I don't even know if we need to go that dense. Maybe even. Let's go this. Okay. So this right here, that panel, that's where I want it. I could also use this brush. This brush is even nicer because let's say the topology doesn't have the proper flow, right? Let's make like it's a Dynamesh or it's something else. I can't make this. Can I make? Okay. Let's say for example, we Dynamesh this. Okay, it's super thin, so yeah, it's too thin to Dynamesh. Okay. So let's say we don't have clean topology here, right? That this topology is not clean. What we could do is you could make a crease with this brush, right? And then you can do things like this where it can be its own thing. And then as we're slicing across this, I hope if I click the right brush, we're slicing and creasing at the same time, right? So as we made this, we're creating a creased edge in there, right? And then ZBrush, when you divide, it's looking at that creased edge, okay, in there. But this can be now a driving force for me that if I now just do a Z remesher and I say keep creasing and then remesh this, right? It's going to use that crease and try and maintain it. Okay, interesting that it's not having, it is maintaining these. It's not maintaining that crease. Interesting. Let's go up. Let's see if we can do it now. There's more edges to maintain. Interesting. Okay, and you look like it should be maintaining that crease. I guess what I wanted to show you is not working for me on this model. Huh. Let's see. Let's just try something simple. Just for giggles. Alright, keep crease. Okay, that one's working. Interesting. I'll have to see why on that. So this is, my point is this, right? It's going to create an edge, and it's going to maintain that crease. And if you Z-remesh it, it's low, so when you go to divide, that will just exist, right? And then once you've divided up a little bit, then you start using, if you want to taper this, then you just start using the smoothing, right? And I can slowly. So I can just slowly make this taper off. I can, right, do something like that, and now it's a slow process off, right? I just use my smoothing brush to kind of control how I want that to crease off. So you could do that and go across the multiple meshes with the fenders and everything else, and then that crease edge would just follow along the car, right? Perfectly, right? So his cars, because it's got no door, isn't actually the best, I think, for what you're looking for. And I don't really have, it would be something more like if we took this, like polymesh, and let's just say we've got multiple meshes across like this, right? If you now are creasing across with this, right? This creasing is going to go across this, and then we Z-remesh it. See, that's being maintained, and then it would go across the car, right? So if I now decide to do something like this, and I go, let's deformation this, let's do it symmetrically, and then I'm going to take this, and now I can add some volume to the car. Take this and say it's something like that, right? That creased edge is still maintained and appreciated. And then now when you divide, you can start using that. Seeing that edge is still there, okay? But the things you got to remember about, I can even say, I can, whoops, not deformation. I can go to my, let me move this back. I can come in here and go to masking, right? And I can do a mask by feature. I can crease that if I wanted to, and then I can use this to do more with. Okay, and if you get really smart, so let's say like the design of the car has like this, I kind of like this. I could go with Let's go brush Z modeler. Let's go brush Z modeler. I'm going to go here. I'm going to say let's crease and let's do shortest path. So I can go from here to here, then come across here, come up, right? And let's just go all the way to the top. Okay, and so this can be a polygroup now. So now I can do polygroup fill, and see I can fill these as polygroups too now. Right, so this is its own polygroup, which now again masking comes into play, right? Because now you can do masks like that, right? And then now I can flatten this and push this in. Like there's so many things I'm going to be able to do with this, right? So if we were doing this from the beginning, we could say it would be worth the case. Let's get back to this. Let's go up a little bit more in topology so we just get even better creasing. Okay, it'd be worth to say, okay, well I can come across like this. It curls in, goes in, and then comes up, comes up, comes up, comes across. Right, and then now I have those creases. Right, if we would have taken it from this right, this is what's important to me now. Right, I can get rid of all of this too. We can say. And then I can say modify topology, delete hidden. Okay, and then now these are going to start, so I don't want any of this. Let's say for now, I don't want any of this. And now also delete hidden that. And now I got that, right? And then now I can start looking at this and go, okay, I need this to close off, so I'm going to go from here to here. Let's go, we got the shortest path. Let's just cross over like this. Fill that one up, fill that one up, fill that one up, right? And you can even see that's a design of the car, maybe, whatever it might be, okay? I'm going to then use slice. Let's just slice right across from this. Okay, and then now I don't want these pieces. Alright, and let's slice across this. I don't want this, I don't want that. And then now delete hidden. Okay, so if you think about it, this is like the panel of a car or something like that. You now have this, right? You can mask these off, right? And do whatever you want with this, right? I can move this to the top here. I can kind of have it come inward a little bit, things like this. But this is probably where, you know, it'd be worth my time to, hey, try to use the Z-remesher to give me a result, right? So now I have this. I'd probably do something like this so that it's flat. So now everything's flat. And then now this would be better. You can do this, and now your result would be very different, right? If I'm just even rotating that in, right? You're creating that look, and then we dynamically divide it, so you're creating something like that, right? And then you can control that, and you got masking, you've got polygrouping, and then again I can smooth this out and actually do a slow bleed in, right? Make it slowly bleed in. And if I want to bring this creasing back with the smoothing while I'm holding the shift key, I can come in here and then pick the weight that's creasing, which is number 7. And now I can lightly tap where the crease is. And see, I can bring that crease even back if I want to, that edge with the crease. Right? So there's so much flexibility and freedom here by using that thought process and using that. Does that help, Nick? If you had a molding, I would need to see, Nick, exactly to make sure I have an understanding of the molding you're talking about. If you had a link to an image that you can share, like you find on Google, that way I can take a quick look at it. Then I can take a quick look and see if you want. If not, we can call it Dunskies, right? I can even, to really clean this up fast, I can come down here to deformation and do polish by features, and then look, I can, so now I've got a nice kind of change in plane starting to happen, but then that crease edge is coming back again because I'm polishing it based upon polygrouping and creasing. That's what this does. This is creasing, right? If I make this really strong, then you guys can really see, then you're getting that look. Right, if we had a little bit better, we went with a little bit more specular material. Right, and then let's crank the spec up. Right, you can see where the plane shift really is happening. Okay. YouTube doesn't allow links in the chat? Really? I didn't know that. In the chat, no way. Yeah, then unfortunately... if you want to send it to me or something like that, you can send it to me through email. I didn't know YouTube didn't allow that. That's interesting. Okay, we don't need to be yelling with all caps on right now. Here, you can email it to me. Email it up. Let me check my emails. Let me open that. Are you able to email it to me or no? I don't know. I don't know if you're watching mobile or something on a mobile device. Just making sure. Sorry for my yawn. While we're waiting, is there any other questions while we're still all here? Tell your friends. I know we don't get as many people watching our live streams anymore. Everybody wants everything vertical in 5 seconds. So, any other questions of the other people that are here while we're waiting? While I'm waiting just for Nick to be able to send what he's trying to ask. Silence. Silence is golden. Oh, on solo. Okay, good spots. Get the car gone. No, there's no way to save any bigger depth map than 72 PPI. No. We don't have, like, ZBrush is not a 2D application per se in the sense of, like, what Photoshop, you're bringing up Photoshop. So right now, no, it doesn't have the ability to, we never went down the rabbit hole of, like, what you would want, like, DPI ability. So we don't have any way right now to make that be higher, so you would have to use Photoshop. There's nothing that I can give you to change that up. Wish I had something for you, Steamworks TC, but I do not, unfortunately. All right. Thinking. Okay. Nick, are you just taking? Are you just taking a screenshot and sending me the screenshot of your car that you did? Yep, it does save you some time. Okay. What else do you guys have? Anything else come up that you guys might have questions about? Let me get back into the chat. Okay. Yeah, again, I will be streaming next week Friday. I won't be the last 2 weeks of the month because I will not be available. I'll be traveling. But next week, before I fly out, we'll meet again and continue our blocking out of that X-wing body and making sure I got everything right and everything where I want it, and then going from there. Okay, right? All right. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, sorry for the yawning. It's just hitting me all of a sudden. How's my audio? It looks like it should be fine. So in this case, we wanted to keep my mic further away from me. Talking normal and fine, but I don't always talk normal, as we all know. For those that have joined before. Okay. And by the way, since we're killing some time here, by the way, with ZBrush Central, you guys do know by posting your work there, you have a greater chance. That's where we're polling, obviously, of discovery for use, being seen by other artists. That's where we're polling all the screen saving stuff for ZBrush Central and the application itself. And then what we're sharing is if you get a staff pick nomination, like these are now staff picks where we as a group are nominating a group of you every week, and then we vote on, and the top voted one becomes the staff pick for that week. But then obviously your work sits here for 5 weeks on ZBrush Central, right? It's discoverability. And then because you're in here, we add you to the screensaver that is inside of ZBrush. So when people are using ZBrush and it stops them doing screen saving, it does that. And then the top row is also in the screensaver and on the ZBrush Central. So you have ability to be top row or ability to be staff picks, but you have to post, right, for us to nominate you, take a look at your work. Okay, there's some really great pieces of work here, obviously, but I'd say post. You never know what we consider to be a staff pick, right? You never know. You might have something where the staff really loves it, and then boom, that's where you are. Okay, so not bad. Okay, so here's an example of Jeremy Go. Okay, so I'm going to open. You're referring to, I'm assuming, this part in here and this kind of part, right? Is what you're referring to. And then your geometry is looking like this, right? Like that. Because it is possible to make this obviously topology to work this way. For sure. Like you can have your topology do the same thing in ZBrush as well. But you could sculpturally play with this. I'm assuming you are referring to this portion, right? This, and then you're having this. Okay, so this is something, if I'm going to go the sculptural way of doing this, then it would be a lot of the smoothing brush and pulling on the surface with some masking and some pinch. Would definitely be, excuse me, a way I would go about this kind of a thing, if that's what we're referring to. Let me get back into the OBS. Yep. Okay, yeah, we don't have variable creasing in ZBrush, right? So that's your problem too, is there's not any variable creasing. So the only way to do that is you have to smooth out. So it's something you would have to divide up to do. If we're going to use creasing, there isn't, and we would have to add that, right? So like this, you have probably definitely a very different type of creasing if you are using creasing in there. And then this kind of thing in here, or in this part of the fender, right? Or this part, if you were using creasing, obviously this is a stronger crease level than in here, in here, and in here. Unfortunately, ZBrush does not have that ability. So if you were using creasing just by below topology, you would have to then divide up and slowly smooth out what you wanted to smooth out, along with edge looping like you did here. Well, manually smoothing would allow you to get surfaces, yeah, without lumps and artifacting, for sure. As long as you have like probably you're gonna want probably a little bit more of a dense mesh. Let's just see if we can kind of make something happen here, right? But that topology you have too, we could get the topology to kind of do that in ZBrush as well, and then you would then you just use that topology to also help you along the way, right? So actually no, let's take a cube. Let's take a cube, let's remesh it. Let's just dynamesh this right now. So let's say something along this way. Oh dyna. Okay, so let's say this is the most top part of fender, and in fact let's let's just say this is kind of the top part of your fender. There is, obviously, sculpturally, we have this arc brush that you could use as, but this is A to B, right? So you can kind of do stuff like this, and then have that slowly go out like that, and then I would smooth it, right? So then this smooths out, and then smooth across right here, right? You can do stuff like this. Okay, and so you can have something like that. You could, if you go back and think about this, okay, if you got smart about this, I could also just do a mask right along here, okay, and then make a new poly group with that mask, right? So now you have this, okay, and then now the smoothing brushes, there are smoothing brushes. As an example, I would change this to 9, and then this is going to do like this kind of a thing. Right, so the stronger I do this, the more I'm going to change this. Right, so then this is creating this, right? But then this is masked. Right, so then now I can say, let's H polish this, and then now I can kind of look a lot bigger. Right, so this brush is about hard surface, right? So I can create like this paneling that starts to come up into that area. And if I blur it, I can also then start to smooth this out. But then I would say I would want to now not do this smoothing. I'd want to do a normal smooth, and then start to smooth that out, right? And then now you can get this line happening, right? And then this is all about topology and strength of your smooth. So if I'm lighter, then I'm not going to be as strong when I'm smoothing this out, okay? And then I can use H polish to continue to refine this, because now that that exists, I can just keep going and going, and like I can make that super sharp, and then again smooth it out and make it go in here, right? And then if you wanted, as we're doing this, okay, This is where then you can come and use brush Z modeler, and then I would say creasing, shortest path, click here, and click along, and it's making a crease along here, right? Okay, and then now the polygrouping, we can crease by polygroup as well. Right, so now you have this. So when I go to smooth, right, doing this smooth, now that I've done that, I can go back to number 7, right, and I can still refine this shape and even make this be sharp again along this path, right, and then this. And I'm in, again, ZBrush, so it's getting super, super sharp through here, but when you divide, right, if I don't want it to hold the creasing anymore, I can, for example, I can turn this off, or I can just uncrease, and then when I divide, you're going to get a natural softness there now, okay? Because now there's more topology, you're getting a softness. I don't even have to use this smoothing brush, right? And I can get a line like that, down like a vehicle, down a car, or down a hard surface thing, right? And then I can still use smoothing, and then this is me letting go of the shift key, and this is more of a relaxed smooth. So now I've smoothed it out even more, okay? And then this is, you're not going to get lumping, especially when you do this. So again, I'm holding the shift key, clicking on the surface, and then letting go of the shift key. And this is kind of a relaxed smooth compared to this, right? So with these combinations, you can kind of start doing things like that. So what that means is you could do stuff where we build up a surface, right? So let's say we build up a surface, comes in here, and then the line continues further on down here, right? And then build up a surface, build up a surface, build up a surface, build up a surface, okay? And then now this, we can, if I wanted to, I could even do stuff, go back to when there's nothing, make an undo marker, come back to here, and then I can say, let's start looking at masking again. And I'm going to say mask changed points, and everything I was working on is masked automatically. So if I inverse it, this is what it would look like. Okay, right? And then now I might say, let's start unmasking here, through here now, right? Or I could even say, let's go to a masking curve and follow this line, let's say. Let's go up a little bit more. And hold the Alt key. So, and then blur it a little bit, right? And then now this is becoming, I've got a mask there now, right? And it's soft. Whoops. So if I do, again, this H polish brush, I can sculpturally, right, start to push this back into something. Right? And then start to get a line through here. And again, when I get closer to the mask, right, and then you can start going this route. Okay, you can go here to do stuff like this. You can use trim dynamic as well, another good one to kind of just trimify into this. Again, it's going to be a process. Don't worry about lumpiness, I think, at beginning. Don't worry about that. There's going to be ways we can go at this and fix this, right? And so the thing here is now I'm starting to make kind of stuff like this, right? Then I can even use the pinch brush, is a big brush of mine. Okay, I want to refine this right there, right? And if I hit the 1 key, it keeps refining that. And if I'm using Dynamesh, I can re-Dynamesh, right? So this is what I mean by we have tools that's going to make it easy to clean things up. And it's re-Dynamesh, right? And then now it's lower polygons. Now we can start playing with this. Okay? And then now this, I can even play with this and start using this brush now to refine this shape. If I do this once, nice like that, I can repeat that, repeat that, repeat that. And then now I want it to come across the top. Repeat that, repeat that, repeat that, repeat that, right? And then now just slowly keep building up the surface, right? And at some point here, I'm going to go up another level, right? So I can really and then I can hold the Alt key, and then that's gonna do that. If I hold the Alt key, stuff like that, right? So I'm playing with making a line in there. So there's ways to do it sculpturally, like this would be other things. Is there a way to make a chisel brush, 3D brush larger than 512 by 512? Why do you need it larger? It's not really going to make a difference. You're referring to these, right? These brushes. It's not really going to make a difference. This alpha being 512 by 512 or 1K by 1K, it's not going to make a huge, gigantic difference for you. But what's doing that, like if you're making a chisel, that's what this is. So this is your size. So you can go up to 1K. That's the biggest you can go. If you're just making it inside a ZBrush from scratch. So you can go that. You can go that high. But honestly, it doesn't need to be higher than that. That's more than fine for what the chisel brushes are doing. Like going higher isn't necessarily going to give you a better result in the sculpting, a ton of better result. You'll get a little bit. Yeah, don't forget your undo history is everything. Okay? It's like there's a lot of stuff. You can even use morph targets. I could also switch to the history brush in this case, and I can slowly, right? See? I can dig into that surface. If I threw an alpha on it, right, a soft alpha, then the brush will slowly be very different, right? So probably would want a better alpha like that. It's kind of a softer alpha. So you can even use this brush, see, to sculpt into things with undo history. And this is how you can bring stuff back. See, I can bring back the original and then slowly do whatever I want. This is how you can, you like you said, you use the word lumpy. This is why I'm not ever worried anymore. I can refine all this back if I want to. I can play with this, keep playing with this, and keep playing with this. Right? There's this ability. Right? There's ability. If I like make an undo history marker, right? And if I do this, I could literally use this and get rid of it, soften it, sharpen it, make it deeper, go the opposite direction. There's all this ability. Undo history is very powerful. Very powerful. Yeah, but keep in mind also the quality also of your chisel is also going to come down to the polygon count. Because chisels are actually vector displacement meshes, so it's allowing undercutting. So you got to also make sure your topology itself has to be up enough to capture as much detail as you can as well. Makes sense for skin maps, totally makes sense. But if you're doing that a brush, then that's all you can do. But that's just for chisel, because that's what this, you know, this is to make an alpha. So you could try that if you want to. But this changing of the size, otherwise, let's see if we go to chisel. Right, these are, we're grabbing the plane, the mesh, right? Okay, so this, I give you incorrect. This is for the pickup. So this is your size of things as well. But this, so if you want, this can be, this is an alpha. So when you're making them, it's going to be more about what this polygon count was when you picked it up, number one, right? So when you're sculpting on here, right, and I'm making something. And honestly, I wouldn't go too high because it's going to make your brush really big, like gigs. Because the higher you put this plane when you're making it, all those polygons have to be remembered in the brush, right? So this is really your big factor, right, of this. We weren't trying to make them to be completely giving you all your details all in one brush. You can get pretty high though. Like if we look at, I think the dog nose that I did, I think I ended up going pretty high, right? So this brush, to mesh, right? So you can see all those details. This is where I took it, and see I took it to 1 million. So this is really also a part of what's determining for a chisel brush is when you made this, what details did you have in it? But then when I have this brush, if I'm going to now draw it out, like say on this, right, to get this nose, see those details? They're coming through, but what really is driving the details is what I'm drawing on, right? See, I need to have enough subdivision levels to pick up the little innuendo details that I put on this nose, right? Because that's really what's the main also driving force of this. It's not just this ability, okay? And so I usually use this from mesh, right? This is from IMM, right? One item. So it's going to create an alpha from all of these. So this is where you could control your size if you want to. So you can say one item. So you can say, hey, I want this to be higher, right? So you could come here and say you want it, like you can go up to 8K. I don't know if I would do that. And then say from IMM, and then see it's creating an alpha, right, from that IMM. The problem is it's an alpha. This is not undercutting. This is not a chisel. It's just a regular 2D alpha, so I won't have the undercutting of the ear. Like you have this ability, but that's just, it's technically taken from IMM, but what it's looking at is this. Even though these are not IMMs, it's looking at the IMM viewer is what it's looking at. Okay. 1 million to 4 million, okay. Yeah, if you're going 4 million, just remember, keep that in mind. Your brush will end up being gigs. Just keep that in mind, or hundreds of megabytes at least. And Nick, to your point, yeah, even if you're sculpting lumpy clay, 100%, you just build with the retopo brush on top of that, right? Just like you said, 100%. So if you went back to this, right, you would just switch to, you know, the retopo brush now, right? And then now I would just say, okay, I want my topology to live like this direction, right? I would probably do this instead. It's just faster than making points. Right, and then you can still move these points around after the fact, right? I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. I can click and add more edge loops. Then I tap, and then now I would just do this, and then there's that, and then I can add edge loops this way. And then like you said, there's my topology, right? And then now I would then here, I would switch to brush Z modeler. Then this piece, I would do the creasing. I would say click here to here, and then that edge right there is creased, right? So if we're only looking at this, and you turn on dynamic subdiv, that's what you're going to get. Right, and then this is going to be, now that I have dynamic on, we'll put this up to 4, and then this is the only variable thing that you can do to change your creasing. So you can say how many levels to hold the creasing, that's it. So I'm holding at 4, so now it says 3, and that's why it softens a little bit. If I go down to 2, it'll soften even more. If I go down to 1, it'll soften even a lot more. So you're able to do this, that's it, right? So I do a combination of like, hey, okay, I like this, But you know, up here I still want it a little more tighter, and that's when I switch to this and just say, okay, let me just add another edge loop, and I can visually go, I want to go right about there. Right, and now I can control this. And if this was continuing down a car or something like that, then I would smooth this out. I would uncrease it, so we could probably try here. Let's also crease the outsides. Okay. And so I would uncrease this, and see it's naturally going to. So if I uncrease this, you're getting a soft now. There's no crease there, and it's sharper there. And then now if I go up to 3, then it looks like that, right? So now it's pretty sharp, and then slow bleed off. If I go down to 1, that's what it looks like. If I go to 2, that's what it looks like. So to your point, this is the kind of stuff then I would do. And that's how I build hard surface. Don't get consumed with trying to make topology right out the gate. Just sculpt. Like, just sculpt the car, sculpt. Right? That's what Henry did. I'd go watch Henry's stream we did with him on this car. That's how he built that car. He worried about, let me just get the design, and then I have retopologizing tools in ZBrush and things I can do to clean it up, right? So stuff like this is what I tend to do as well. So great call out, Nick. Awesome call out. All right. I've been going for 3 hours. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining. Hopefully I see you next week. Please let your friends know. I'd love to try and get back to the day where I had 150 you in these streams. I miss those days. So share your friends. I'm gonna have to start letting people know when I'm streaming again. But thank you for your time. Thank you for your questions. I prefer more interaction. I prefer the put on your capes, because again, I'm here for the users. Right? And we always are having Lisa needs braces, Lisa needs braces, Lisa needs braces, Lisa needs braces moments. It's always happening, right? Right? So I am Paul Gaboury with Max on ZBrush. Thank you for tuning in, and I am